Welcome to the Anti Optimist Therapist Podcast, where optimism and realism coexist. I'm your host, April, therapist and someone who believes the truth lies somewhere between just think positive and everything is terrible. Today's episode is called Why Suffering Pushes Us to Build Something Better. I want to start by saying this. I don't believe everything happens for a reason. I don't believe your thoughts control your entire reality. And I definitely don't believe it's helpful to just focus on the positive when your life is falling apart. Some messages just don't hold up when real suffering hits. Would you say, everything happens for a reason to someone who just lost a child to cancer? Or to a parent who accidentally ran over their own kid in the driveway? I wouldn't. And the idea that your thoughts create your reality, that one gets tricky too. Yes, our thoughts shape how we experience the world, but the reality is that bad things happen regardless of how hard you try to manifest, visualize, or reframe. That's why I do therapy using a different lens. The framework I use is called Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, or ACT for short. It's based on the idea that suffering is part of life, and that instead of trying to eliminate pain, we learn how to carry it with strength and purpose. I'll talk more about ACT in a little bit, but first, I want to take you back to late 2021. That's when everything changed for me. My mom got COVID and ended up in the ICU on forced oxygen. I was told people usually don't come off of that. They die. I was working in a prison in another state, flying back and forth, juggling clients and endless paperwork. I was the person doing notes in the corner at family gatherings, always behind, always burnt out. And when my mom got sick, I kind of cracked. I saw everything I was missing. The people I loved, the time I could never get back, and I walked away from the job, from the grind, from the illusion of security. I started my own therapy practice. I didn't have it all figured out. I still don't. But at the same time, I wanted my work to reflect my values, not just pay the bills. The thing is, I was already burnt out before my mom got sick. I just didn't want to admit it. I thought that I had to keep pushing, had to keep performing, had to keep showing up like everything was fine, even though a few months earlier, I had been sexually assaulted and hadn't fully processed that even. I was avoiding my pain by drowning in work, and that worked until it didn't. What I've learned, both as a therapist and a person, is this. Sometimes suffering is what finally pushes us to build something better. Doesn't mean you have to start a business, but it might stop you from settling. Maybe you stop avoiding, you stop betraying yourself. And sometimes it does mean starting a business. Because for a lot of people, especially therapists, creatives, and caretakers, traditional jobs aren't just exhausting, they can feel suffocating. It reminds me of a quote often attributed to Noam Chomsky. Almost everybody spends more of their life living in a totalitarian system. It's called having a job. When you have a job, you're under total control of the masters of the enterprise. They determine what you wear, when you go to the bathroom, what you do. The very idea of having wage control is selling yourself into servitude. Whether or not he actually said it, I see the truth of it every week in therapy sessions. People don't just want money, they want agency. They want to stop trading their health, time, and values for a paycheck. And the more they suffer, the more they question that trade-off. ACT teaches that when we stop trying to eliminate suffering, we free up energy to move towards what really matters. We create space between ourselves and our thoughts. We stop fusing with the voice in our head that says, you can't, you're not ready, or who do you think you are? Instead of trying to change every unhelpful thought, we notice it, and then we choose what action we want to take based on our values. There's a quote from ACT I come back to often. You hurt where you care. And that's the whole point. Suffering points to what matters. It's not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you're human. I've seen this in entrepreneurs even again and again. Sarah Blakely was selling fax machines door to door before she created Spanx. She was told no constantly and built her billion-dollar company while being laughed at. Jamie Kern Lima, the founder of It Cosmetics, was told no one would buy makeup from someone who looked like her. She lived off of Sam's Club hot dogs and ramen noodles while building her brand, which L'Oreal eventually bought for $1.2 billion. Most people don't do hard things just because they want to. They do it because something in their life hurt enough that they can't ignore it anymore. That's the catalyst. When I started my therapy practice, it wasn't a grand business plan. It was a survival move. But over time, it became a values move. I got to choose who I worked with, how I structured my time, and what kind of experience I wanted my clients to have. I'm not building an empire. I'm building a business that reflects what I care about. High integrity work, client-centered care, room to be a whole person, not just a productivity machine. I do still work a lot, but now I make time for my family, for movement, for rest. I'm building this not just for me, but now also for my daughter. For moments like playing at the splash pad, watching movies with my dad, or seeing my mom laugh with her granddaughter. That's what matters to me. And that's what ACT helps clarify. There's one more thing I want to say about my brand name, the Anti Optimist Therapist. Some people hear that and they assume I'm a cynic. I'm not. My clients would all tell you that I am not. I'm just not a fan of hollow positivity, the kind that tells people to manifest their way out of trauma or slap a gratitude quote on top of real grief. Optimism without realism can be cruel. But realism without hope can be paralyzing. So I live in the tension. That's what the tagline means, where optimism and realism coexist. I don't promise perfect solutions, but I do believe we can live with more integrity, more meaning, and more peace, even when life is hard. I still mess up. I still have rough days. But I really try to let my values lead. And that's what I want to help others do too. Thanks for listening to the Anti Optimist Therapist Podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, feel free to stick around. I'll be here every week, blending clinical insights, lived experience, and a little bit of existential honesty. Because life is hard, but it's not hopeless. And you don't have to fake a smile to build something meaningful.